What's going on, friends? Welcome back to College Sports Corner. We are in week 8. We're going to do our week 8 preview of the games coming up. We had some games Friday night, or not Friday, Wednesday night. Had a couple last night. We'll go over those. I was going to do the show yesterday, but my supervisor came to me and said, "Hey, you want to work Thursday and be off Friday?" I said, 3-day weekend? Hell yeah. Yeah. Why not? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So we're doing it this morning. It's Friday morning. We only got a few hours left, and the weekend is here. Thank God. Well, my weekend is here. Your all's weekend will be starting here soon. Anyway, we're going to go over some things here. We got some news items, and then we'll get to the games. We'll go over the games of the last few days. Before we start, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Listen to it at work. Act like you're working. Listen to this in the background. There you go. Win-win. Boss thinks you're working, and you're listening to college football. All right, here we go. All right, let's get started with some items. We got 3 items that are tied together here. First of all, after that Tennessee win last week against Alabama, the SEC has fined Tennessee $100,000 for celebration on the field. Kind of goes back to a basketball game. They already got fined, I think I heard, for a basketball game. They warned Tennessee, hey, don't storm any playing surface. Well, we saw what happened Saturday after that Bama game, which I'm sure Tennessee doesn't mind. After a big win like that, hell yeah, let everybody on the field. But anyway, SEC fines them $100,000. Now, if you saw, the goalposts went out the stadium. Think I think I heard they threw them in the river. So Tennessee was taking donations this week to get new goalposts. I was like, really? School like you that makes all this money is taking donations from people to get new goalposts? All right, whatever. So anyway, I'm sure they have them up by now because they got a game tomorrow. But if you're feeling generous, you want to give anyway, contact Tennessee and give them some money. Okay, the third part of this story is a video on social media appears to show Bama wide receiver Jermaine Burton strike a female Tennessee fan while he was exiting the field. SEC is looking at this. Alabama's Tennessee are both looking at this. I didn't see it, so I don't know if he actually hit the girl or if he just shoved her down, whatever. I don't know. More will come out about this, I'm sure. So see what happens. An assistant Fresno State coach punched out the glass in the coach's box during the San Jose State game last weekend. Glass fell below and injured fans. They didn't name the coach, but he's on administrative leave. But yeah, that kind of sucks, man. You're just watching the game, all of a sudden glass is pounding you in the head and cutting you all up. But one of those weird stories. Oklahoma State the defensive tackle, Brandon Evers, he's foregoing the rest of the season to get ready for the NFL draft. I understand why players do this, but I also hate it. I mean, we had some good players skip out on bowl games last year, but I understand it. Don't like it, but I understand it. Man, kind of a sad story here. Mississippi State outside lineman Sam Westmoreland passed away at age 18. There's an investigation ongoing. Police are involved. Haven't heard if it's foul play or whatever, but man, prayers to him and his family, his friends, and his teammates. That's 18 years old. Man, just goes to show you never know where the direction life is going to take you. I mean, man, guy has his whole life ahead of him. So God bless you, Sam Westmoreland. Okay, CFP committee met again to discuss starting 12-team playoff in 2024. But conflicts that they are having include playing the first round games on campus, final exams, and fall graduation. These are the conflicts they're having. My suggestion is, why don't you call some of these schools at the FCS, Division II, Division III, and ask how they do it? There, simple, problem solved. They're going to give you advice, you do it. It's not freaking rocket science. I don't know what some of these people's problems are. Jeez. Maryland quarterback, Taulia. I don't dare say his last name because I always butcher it. Probably butchering his first name too. If you see, he got hurt last week. Knee, they carted him off. I think it was the fourth quarter. But he's going to be a game time decision. So he just re-aggravated an MCL sprain. Doesn't look like any other damage was done, so they're going to decide at game time whether he's going to play. We'll go over the schedule in a minute, but I think they got Northwestern. So, as a Northwestern fan, see how bad they are. They probably don't even need him, but you never know. Okay, so now's the time of year. Middle of October, getting to the end of October, we start seeing the FCS picture kind of formulate into who's going to make the playoffs, who's not, who's going to make a deep playoff run, who's just going to taste the outside of it, and also who is just going to play their games this year and they're looking forward to next year. So if you can find them, here is a quick list of some FCS games. They'll be pretty good. Some networks show them. You can find a lot of them online. But anyway, here we go. Go through these real quick. Tonight at 7, Princeton 5-0 at Harvard 4-1. Tomorrow at 1, Yale 4-1 at Penn 5-0. Also tomorrow at 1, Albion 5-2 at New Hampshire. I'm sorry, 5-2. Saturday at 1, Stonehill 3-1 at St. Francis, Pennsylvania 4-2. Also at 1, Sacred Heart 4-2 at Merrimack 5-2. 1:30 Eastern, Mercer 6-1 at Chattanooga 5-1. Saturday at 2, Richmond 4-2 at Hampton 4-2. 3 p.m. Weber State 6-0 at Montana State 6-1. That's got to be online or one of the networks somewhere because that's gonna be a good game. 3 p.m. Eastern, Campbell 4-2 at Jackson State 6-0. 4 p.m. Eastern, South Dakota State 6-1. They just defeated North Dakota State last week. Well, now they're going to try to sweep the state. They're playing North Dakota, who's 4-2. And then 9 p.m. Eastern. Man, this could be some good late night football if you can find it. Montana 5-1 at Sacramento State 6-0. So that is your top-notch FCS games for this weekend. Okay, we have a few games. Wednesday, Appalachian State creamed Georgia State 42-17. Appalachian State's Peoples 168 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Last night, I had 2 games last night. One of them, 2 teams are pretty good. The other 2 teams are just eh. The is Virginia beat Georgia Tech 16-9. Brooks for Georgia Tech, though, he had a 37-yard pick six. Armstrong for Virginia was 20 for 35, 255 yards, touchdown. He did throw 2 picks. And the other game, which should have been, you'd think it was a good game because they both got good records. Troy 10, South Alabama 6. So it looks like it may have been a very defensive game. I didn't see it. I was watching the Astros game. So, yeah, there you go. That was the games we had. All right, let's get to tonight. We got 7:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Tulsa 2-4 at Temple 2-4. Brendan for Tulsa, 1,839 passing yards, 14 touchdowns. He's only thrown 5 picks, so that's not too bad. Both teams average under 110 yards rushing a game. So, also tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, CBS Sports. UAB 4-2 at Western Kentucky 4-3. May not be a bad game. UAB's McBride 778 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns. They average 450 total yards a game. Western Kentucky's Reed 2,314 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's like picking up where Bailey Zape left off last year. I mean, that guy's pretty damn good. They average 489 total yards. Both teams have over 405 yards in penalties. Something they may want to get cleaned up. All right, tomorrow, noon, Eastern, ABC. I'm not sure why this isn't a primetime game. Syracuse 6-0 at Clemson 7-0. Schrader for Syracuse, he's got 12 passing touchdowns. Tucker has 6 rushing touchdowns. Goodson has 5 touchdown catches. DJ for Clemson, 17 touchdown passes. Shipley has 8 rushing touchdowns. These teams are pretty even in the average rushing, passing, and total yards a game. So this looks like it could be a pretty damn good game. Both of them over 410 yards in penalties, something they may need to get cleaned up before tomorrow. But yeah, I don't understand why this isn't a primetime game. Why it's at noon, but I have no say in these things, so I don't know. Noon Eastern, Big Ten Network, Indiana 3-4, at Rutgers 3-3. Indiana's not quite having the season that they predicted they would. Basic, though, he's got 1,889 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, and he's thrown 8 picks this year. Noon Fox, man, Iowa 3-3 at Ohio State 6-0. I don't think this is going to be a pretty game for Iowa. Sorry, Iowa fans. Hey, I'm a Kirk Ferentz fan. I root for Iowa whenever they play. But man, I just don't think this is going to be. They only average 82 rushing yards a game this year. 82 rushing yards. It's just, man, golly, 157 passing yards. I mean, that's a slow day for a lot of teams. A real slow day for some. C.J. Stroud, 1,737 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Ohio State averages 544 total yards a game. Noon Eastern, ESPN Plus. Akron 1-6 at Kent State 2-5. Noon Eastern, SEC Network. Tennessee Martin 4-2 at Tennessee 6-0. Tennessee's Martin win. Wynn has 1,737 passing yards, 11 touchdowns. Wallace has rushed for 10 touchdowns. They average 485 total yards a game. Hendon Hooker at Tennessee, we've all seen him. 1,817 passing yards, 15 touchdowns. Hyatt has 10 touchdown catches, and if I remember right, 4 or 5 of them came last week against Bama. They average 551 total yards a game. Their averages are close, passing and rushing. I'm not going to say Tennessee Martin's going to win, but they get a few breaks their way, some turnovers. I mean, Tennessee Martin's not a pushover. They're pretty good, even though they're FCS. So maybe Tennessee still got a Bama hangover. Maybe they think they can roll their helmets out and beat anyone. They only have to try. And before you know it, Tennessee Martin's in this game. So we'll see how Tennessee acts tomorrow. See if they are past all that Bama stuff and see if they're just going to clobber UT Martin or UT Martin's going to give them a game. Either way, keep an eye on the score, see what happens. Noon Eastern, ESPN2, Kansas 5-2 at Baylor 3-3. Kansas got the better rushing game, but Baylor's got the better passing game. Noon Eastern, ESPN, Cincinnati 5-1 at SMU 3-3. Both quarterbacks in this game have over 1,500 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Both of them, total yards averages per game, pretty close, but I don't know. I think Cincinnati might take this one. Noon Eastern, CBS Sports, Louisiana Monroe 2-4 at Army 2-4. Or I'm sorry, Louisiana Monroe is 2-5. Army's 2-4. Noon Eastern, ESPNU, Houston 3-3 at Navy 2-4. Tune for Houston, 1,567 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Dell has 6 touchdown catches. Navy does have the better rushing game than Houston does. 12:30 Eastern on RSN. Not sure what RSN is. Maybe some of you people on the East Coast might know. But Duke 4-3 and Miami 3-3. Leonard for Duke, 1,557 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, but he's rushed for 420 yards and 5 touchdowns. And on the other side, Van Dyke for Miami, 1,648 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Their average total yards a game only separated by 30 yards. Does Duke go to Miami and upset them? Guess we're going to find out. 1 p.m. Eastern, ESPN3, Bowling Green 3-4, Central Michigan 2-5. Central Michigan and Western Michigan, 2 teams that are usually, man, I don't know what their problem is this year. It's crazy. 1 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus, Toledo 5-2 at Buffalo 4-3. Toledo's Finn, 17 passing touchdowns this year, thrown 5 picks, but he's also rushed for 6 touchdowns, so he's a pretty good quarterback. Newton has 6 touchdown catches for Toledo. Not bad wide receiver there. Snyder for Buffalo, 11 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions. Washington has 6 rushing touchdowns. Marshall has 5 touchdown catches. Toledo averages 402 total yards a game, where Buffalo averages just a little bit under at 399. Could be a pretty good MAC game. Pretty good one. 2 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus, Eastern Michigan 4-3 at Ball State 4-3. Eastern Michigan averages 360 total yards a game. Ball State averages 405. Eastern Michigan, by tomorrow, they will have more than 500 yards in penalties. That's how far up the ladder they are. 2 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus, Northern Illinois 2-5 at Ohio 4-3. What else we've got here? 2:30 Eastern on. I saw Peacock Network, but I'm wondering if it's going to be on NBC also. UNLV 4-3 and Notre Dame 3-3. Both these teams are pretty even in the rushing and the passing game. UNLV's having a good year this year. I mean, they're only one game above 500, but heck, if they can go into South Bend tomorrow and get a win, they'll be 5-3, which is a lot better than what they've been the last few years. You got to admit that. So they're having a decent year. The other team that's having a decent year, Rice, 3 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus. Rice 3-3 at La Tech 2-4. Rice averages 352 yards a game. La Tech averages 395, a little bit more. Rice having a good year. I live not too far from Rice. I'm going to go see the Rice UTSA game in a few weeks. 3-3. Hey, they might be able to get to the bowl game if they keep going. 3 p.m. Eastern, FS1. West Virginia 3-3 at Texas Tech 3-3. West Virginia averages 191 rushing yards, 271 passing yards, 462 total yards. Texas Tech averages 119 on the ground, 365 through the air, though, 484 total yards. Both quarterbacks have almost 1,500 yards passing. The way Texas Tech has played, you figure they'd be better than 3-3, but that's the way things go. We mentioned this earlier, 3:30 Eastern, Big Ten Network, Northwestern 1-5 at Maryland 5-2. Like we said, Talua, he's going to be a game time decision. I don't think they'll need him. I mean, I'm a Pat Fitzgerald fan. I root for Northwestern. I have relatives from Chicago, but man, I just don't think they can win this game. So they probably don't even need Talua. Passing games are kind of close, but Maryland is better in the rushing game. Maryland has 59 penalties for 522 yards this year. So, 3:30 Eastern, ACC Network, Boston College 2-4 at Wake Forest 5-1. Jurkovec for Boston College, 1,335 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Hartman for Wake Forest, 1,442 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 3:30 Eastern on ABC. This probably might be a pretty good one here. Texas 5-2 at Oklahoma State 5-1. Texas averages 180 rushing yards, 254 passing yards, 434 total yards a game. Robinson has 10 rushing touchdowns. On the other side, Oklahoma State averages 156 rushing yards, 300 passing yards, 456 total yards a game. Sanders, 13 touchdown passes and 8 rushing touchdowns. UT, 279 yards racked up in penalties this year. Oklahoma State, 246 yards of penalties they've racked up this year. Big Ten battle here, 3:30 Eastern, ESPN. Purdue 5-2 at Wisconsin 3-4. Purdue's O'Connell, 1,950 passing yards, 14 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Jones has 9 touchdown catches for the Boilermakers. Wisconsin's Mertz, 1,427 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Allen has 8 rushing touchdowns. Wisconsin has the better rushing game, but Purdue, they do it through the air a lot better. 3:30 Eastern, CBS Sports, Western Michigan 2-5, and Miami of Ohio 3-4. Crazy seeing Western Michigan at 2-5. They're usually a pretty decent team every year. They average 306 total yards. For Miami of Ohio, only averages 303 total yards. Both quarterbacks in this game have 7 touchdown passes. Each team's leading wide receiver has 4 touchdown catches. Western Michigan has 510 yards and penalties. Maybe a big reason why they're 2-5, but I don't know. 3:30 Eastern on Fox. UCLA 6-0 and Oregon 5-1. This is probably gonna be a pretty good game. Both quarterbacks are good. DTR is great for UCLA. Bo Nix has really come on over there at Oregon. So this could be an interesting game here. Speaking of DTR, 1,510 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Charbonnet has 6 rushing touchdowns. Bobo, I think that's his name, 5 touchdown catches. Nix for Oregon, 1,526 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's also got 331 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns. So what he was at Auburn, which he started out decent at Auburn, this is a total turnaround what he's done coming to Oregon. I mean, I'm really impressed with this guy. Back in Auburn, I was like, oh, this guy's good. And then, a little while later, you're like, this guy, I don't know about this guy. Goes to Oregon, and he's just totally turned it around. He's a damn good quarterback. 3:30 Eastern on Fox. Good Pac-12 battle. Also, 3:30 Eastern on CBS Sports. Ole Miss 7-0 at LSU 5-2. LSU is one of the teams that, we all saw how they started off, got beat by Florida State barely. Just didn't play very well, but the last couple of weeks they've really been playing, except the Tennessee game, of course. Some of these games, LSU, they play great, and they play crappy, and then they play really great, like against Florida. It's like, where was that team the whole year? But Ole Miss going to Tiger Stadium, 2:30 in the afternoon. The fans got a little more time to have some beverages, so it'll probably be a lot louder than it was at 11 a.m. Ole Miss's Dart, 1,488 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Judkins has 720 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns. They average 502 total yards a game. Daniels for LSU, 1,564 passing yards, 10 touchdowns. He's rushed for over 400 yards and 6 touchdowns. LSU averages 443 total yards. A lot of the national media guys have questions about Ole Miss, even though they're 7-0. So this might be a game worth watching. They might be, 7-1 by tomorrow night. We'll see. 3:30 Eastern, ESPN2, Memphis 4-3 at Tulane 6-1. Tulane having a great year. Their quarterback Pratt, he's got 11 touchdown passes. Their running back Spears has 8 rushing touchdowns. But Memphis Hennigan, he's got 12 touchdown passes this year. So might be a pretty good game. See if Tulane can keep that good season going. 3:30 Eastern, ESPN Plus, Marshall 3-3 at James Madison 5-1. Sotillo for James Madison, 1,780 passing yards, 17 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. 3:30 Eastern, ESPNU, BYU 4-3 at Liberty 6-1. Back in the spring and even the summer, this game was probably going to be a game between two teams. Either one was undefeated or they're going to have one loss. I wouldn't expect BYU to be 4-3 when they went into this game. I don't know. But Hall for BYU, 17 touchdown passes. Brooks has 5 rushing touchdowns. Epps, he's got 6 touchdown catches for the Cougars. For Liberty, Salter, he's only got 6 touchdown passes. Hunter has 7 rushing touchdowns. Douglas, 5 touchdown catches. 3:30 Eastern, ESPN Plus, Georgia Southern, 4-3 at Old Dominion, 3-3. Van Treese for Georgia Southern, 2,511 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, but he has thrown 12 interceptions. That's averaging, 2 a game? White, he's got 8 rushing touchdowns for Georgia Southern. They average 506 total yards, so they got a good defense if they could just cut back on those interceptions, 3:30 Eastern on the Stadium, North Texas 4-3 at UTSA 5-2. 2 good quarterbacks in this one. I don't know how to say this guy's name. Aune, On, for North Texas. 1,692 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And on the other side, UTSA's Harris, who's been a good quarterback the last couple of years. 2,300 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Brady, has 5 rushing touchdowns, and Clark 7 touchdown catches for the Roadrunners. Might be a pretty good game. And it's on Stadium, so you can watch it whatever's on TV and put it on your tablet or computer or whatever. Let's see here. 3:30 Eastern, ESPN Plus. Florida International 2-4. At Charlotte 1-6. 4 p.m. Eastern, SEC Network. Vandy 3-4. And Missouri 2-4. Two SEC teams that really need a win. Vandy started off good. What were they? 3-0, 4-0, and they just kind of fell off the map. So, but one of those teams is going to be happy tomorrow. 4 p.m. Eastern, Pac-12 Network. Arizona State 2-4 at Stanford 2-4. 4 p.m. Eastern, Spec. I don't know what Spec is. I don't know if it's a cable company or an app or website, but anyway, Hawaii 2-5 at Colorado State 1-5. 4 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus. Florida Atlantic 3-4 at UTEP 3-4. Florida Atlantic's Perry 1,638 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Webster has 8 touchdown catches. UTEP's Hardison 1,586 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, but 6 interceptions. So 5 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus. Arkansas State 2-5. And Louisiana 3-3. Raging Cajuns aren't doing very good since Napier left for Florida, but I don't know. Both these teams average under 120 yards rushing. 5 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus. Southern Miss 3-3 at Texas State 3-4. 6 p.m. Eastern on Flow. San Jose State 4-2 at New Mexico State 2-5. 6:30 Eastern on FS2. Fresno State 2-4 at New Mexico 2-5. Some of these Mountain West teams. Remember how Mountain West teams have been pretty good the last few years, but man, some of the ones that are really good are not so good. And Fresno's coach left and went to Washington, so maybe that's got something to do with it. All right, 7 p.m. Eastern, SEC or ESPN. Mississippi State 5-2 at Alabama 6-1. A lot of people on TV are saying Mississippi State is going to give Alabama fits. Some say that ball bounces their way a few times, they might win. Alabama might still be from the Tennessee game. Who knows? I don't know. Could be interesting. Check it out and see what happens. Mississippi State's Rogers, 2,313 passing yards, 23 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions. But Mississippi State does average only 95 rushing yards a game, so it's all passing game for them, which is 333 passing yards they average each game. They average 428 total yards. Bryce Young from Bama, 1,657 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They average 237 yards on the ground, 276 yards through the air, 513 total yards a game. Mississippi State, they got 497 yards of penalties this year. Bama has 66 penalties for 559 yards. I think I've seen quite a few Bama games this year because of the teams they play. I agree with the guys on TV. They are lucky they are not 4-3. They really are. If you look back at some of these games, Texas A&M, yeah, they're real lucky they're not 4-3. Remember, Saban said last year was a rebuilding year. That's why they weren't so good. I don't know. I think maybe this year might be the rebuilding year because even though they're 6-1, they don't look so good. So, but what do I know? I'm the coach. 7 p.m. Eastern, CBS Sports. Boise State 4-2 and Air Force 5-2. This could be a good one. Boise averages 186 rushing yards, 152 passing yards, 338 total yards. Roberts for Boise State, 853 rushing yards, 12 rushing touchdowns. Where Air Force averages 360 on the ground, only 80 through the air, because they're a running team, but they average 440 total yards a game. Might be a good one to watch tomorrow night. This one here, it could be a good one. Big Ten battle, 7:30 Eastern, ABC. Minnesota 4-2 at Penn State 5-1. Neither team played like they usually do last week. I don't know what happened with them. Minnesota's Morgan, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Ibrahim, 9 rushing touchdowns, better in the rushing game. Clifford for Penn State, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Singleton has 5 rushing touchdowns. Minnesota has the better rushing game, but Penn State has the better passing game. Both average over 410 total yards a game. So, hey, they're both looking to bounce back after horrible performances they had last week. Might be a good game. 7:30 Eastern, SEC Network. Texas A&M 3-3 at South Carolina 4-2. A&M averages 334 total yards. South Carolina 489 total yards. South Carolina does have a better rushing and passing game than A&M. And being an A&M fan, I'm realistic. I would not be surprised if they lost this game. I'm just calling it how it is. I've been an A&M fan for all my life. You have to be very, very careful when you root for A&M. So, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they come out there with a loss. Hope not, but 7:30 Eastern, ESPNU, Central Florida 5-1 at East Carolina 4-3. Plumlee for Central Florida, 1,516 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's also rushed for 468 yards and 7 touchdowns. So they got a pretty good quarterback there. East Carolina Allers, he's not too bad either. 2,131 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So, and their back Mitchell, 575 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. So East Carolina, they're 4-3 though. So 8 p.m. Eastern, Pac-12 Network, Colorado 1-5 and Oregon State 5-2. Colorado averages under 173 yards in the rushing and the passing game. So probably a big reason why they're 1-5. Oregon State averages 184 rushing yards and 234 passing yards a game. Another possible good one, 8 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Kansas State 5-1 at TCU 6-0. Kansas State averages 245 rushing yards, only 159 passing yards, 403 total yards. TCU 229 rushing yards, 298 passing yards, 527 total. Dugan for TCU, 1,591 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 1 interception. Miller has rushed for almost 600 yards and 8 touchdowns. And I would not be surprised. No coach is happy with penalties, but what we've seen this year, these coaches might be okay because Kansas State only has 234 yards of penalties, where TCU has 274. Compared to a lot of these teams we're seeing, they're getting up into 3s, 4s, and even 5s now. So these two coaches here may not be too upset with their team, but would still rather have less yards and penalties. 8 p.m. Eastern, ACC Network, Pitt 4-2 at Louisville 3-3. Both these teams are kind of even in the rushing and the passing game. Maybe just a flip of a coin or home field advantage if they're playing in Louisville. 9:45 Eastern, FS2, Utah State 3-4 at Wyoming 4-3. Utah State averages 368 total yards a game. Wyoming 297. 10:30 Eastern, CBS Sports, San Diego State 3-3 at Nevada 2-5. San Diego State, they got a better rushing game. Nevada does it better through the air. Both teams average under 300 yards a total game. And 10:30 Eastern, ESPN, your late night game. Washington 5-2 at Cal 3-3, which Cal was a good team there for a while. I'm not sure what happened to them, but Washington's Penix, 2,560 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Odunza, 693 receiving yards and 6 touchdown catches. Huskies average 512 total yards a game. Cal's Plummer, 1,510 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Ott, 579 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. Cal averages 381 total yards a game. That is it. Like I said, a few more hours. You guys will be out of work. The weekend starts. Got football tonight, football tomorrow, football Sunday. It's a whole freaking football weekend. Man, y'all be safe tonight if y'all go out. Don't drink and drive. It's bad. We all know it. Anyway, y'all take care. We'll see you back later.